The Genesis Communications Network is sponsored by the U.S. Money Reserve, your exclusive source for gold and silver precious metals. Visit them online at usmoneyreserve.com.
The stocks discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering on acting on information, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice.
What kingdom has sent you?
The kingdom of the Most High.
Nothing you have ever experienced can prepare you for the unbridled carnage you're about to witness. Right. Super Bowl, the World Series, they don't know what pressure is. In this building, it's either kill or be killed. You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute, you're up $500,000 in soybeans, and the next, boom, your kids don't go to college and they've repossessed your Bentley. Are you with me?
The Genesis Communication Network is proud to bring you Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week elf, Mark Leibovit, welcoming you on board his financial time machine. And here is the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Wall Street Raw for this Saturday morning, April 23rd. No other day like it. You have other choices on a Saturday morning, and thank you for joining us on this program. Wild and woolly week on Wall Street. We'll get to that in a moment. As you may or may not know, I publish vrtrader.com. It's under the heading of the Leibovit VR Gold Letters. If you want more information on my services and my commentary, go to vrtrader.com. Also, if you're interested in some of Joel Wallach's products, we offer that at WallStreetRawHealth.com, WallStreetRawHealth.com. I'm a big proponent of alternate health, have been since my mentor, who got me started in the stock market back in the early 1970s, was into organic foods and health products, and I really appreciate that combination, because obviously what good is the money if you don't have your health? And having seen so many of my proteges pass on and be unhealthy, particularly with the stress of the stock market, I think it's important that you do that. We don't talk about this too often, but I want to talk about that initially today. Sort of important. So if you want more information, go to WallStreetRawHealth.com as well for more information on Joel's products, and I write about it a little bit in my newsletter as well. You may have recognized me as one of the former elves on the Louis Rukeyser Wall Street Week program, as a market monitor guest with Paul Kangas on the nightly business reports. I've been around a while, a trader on the Chicago Board Options Exchange many decades ago, but still gaining a lot of experience about how the markets work. Unfortunately, the state of American journalism, in my opinion, is on the verge of collapse. We have ideology that has permeated hard news coverage. Honest reporting is becoming almost scarce, both in financial and political circles, particularly when you see the press protect President Obama over major issues, and when you see relatively minor issues, emphasized more than they should be, and particularly economic issues where we don't see the press acting in the capacity of the fourth estate and questioning economic numbers, which in many respects I feel are incorrect, particularly numbers like the employment numbers and so forth. So news is being manipulated. We know markets are rigged. We talk about this often on the show, particularly with my interviews with my good friend Sinclair No. And we just have to understand that it's a rigged game, and we have the financial press not doing their job. So what do you really do? Well, you could go with the flow, as my young niece says, and you just play along with the trend, which is smart if you're trading the market, but you also have to keep your foot in the door and understand that things can change awfully dramatically. The market started this week. Let's look at the S&P at 2081. On Monday this past week, it dipped down to 2074 and then started to rally to new uptrend highs. By late Wednesday, the S&P hit 2111 and then started to decline, and by Friday morning hit 2081 and then bounced to the end of the week into 2092. So for the week, the S&P down, we're up about 0.5%, but the NASDAQ was down about 1%. and the Dow Jones World Index gained about 0.7%. Economic reports for the week were mostly positive. On the downtick, we saw building permits, housing starts, and the Philly Fed numbers. On the uptick, we saw existing home sales, the FHFA index, leading indicators, the WLEI, and the weekly jobless claims improved. And coming up this week, of course, we have the FOMC meeting Tuesday and Wednesday with the final report coming out on Wednesday. So obviously the guess is what Janet Yellen will do and not do. More than likely not do anything, but if they do choose to hike interest rates, remember what happened when they did that late last year and the market turned south. So I don't think the market's going to react positively when they do that. There are some rumors that it could occur in June, so we're going to see if that unfolds. Basically, I feel that shots have been fired across the bow, and the stock market is peaking here. If you recall, the old sell may go away. We've had some indications that some sell indications from big players. If you watch some of the big NASDAQ stocks this week, particularly early in the week, names like Microsoft and Netflix, I think some of the big boys are getting out. There have been some rumors about a U.S. dollar devaluation. I keep warning about this. It could happen in 10 years or in 10 days, but it is coming, and when it does, it could dramatically affect your portfolio and the value of the money you keep in the banks. We've seen this happen in other countries with the huge debt that we have here, and with the obvious rigging of world markets. Anything can happen at any time, so you have to protect yourself. We've talked about those issues before. We have the Passover holiday underway here that runs through the entire week, started last night. And we talked to Eric Haddock last few weeks. We're going to talk to him later in the show about the quote-unquote dates of aggression. The time frame that we've entered, April 19th or so, historically has been coincident with some significant changes in the world, economically and politically, and we are in that time frame right now. Very interesting to see that, of course. And then, you got to put in your thought scheme the cycles that are in effect, as well as the short-term trading patterns. Of course, the markets are concerned about Donald Trump possibly reaching the U.S. presidency. The negative interest rates that are around the world are something to be considering, too. When is it going to come to the U.S.? Well, it probably will come. The question is when, and how will that affect our markets? We have growing threats from Saudi Arabia, who was clearly complicit at the 9/11 tragedy, and we don't know who to pick our allies and who to pick as friends. And one of the problems is we have someone in the White House who isn't acting in the best interests of our country and may be acting as a Manchurian candidate for some other power. You almost feel that way, the way he conducts himself. So we have threats from Saudi Arabia about dumping their bonds on our market. And also, everyone seems to be concerned about the uncertainty how to deal with Vladimir Putin, who is understandably, in my opinion, acting for the best interests of his country. He's not looking for the best interests of the U.S. He's doing what's best for his country, so I applaud him for that. And meanwhile, we have to be concerned about what markets may do this time of year going into the summer. So putting all the pieces together, we're trading the market. Look what gold and silver and some of the commodity markets have done here in recent weeks, showing improvement, though they do appear to be needing to pull back here a bit. I think as I mentioned earlier, the shot's been fired across the bow here in terms of, the need to be in some physical assets and to diversify away from the equity markets, but also to be aware that there are trading opportunities day to day. So one of the hot areas this past week or so has been the cannabis section. And we talk about that quite a bit in our Vice letter. Trudeau in Canada has initiated legislation which will make marijuana legal throughout Canada, which would be unbelievable. And we have recreational use that's legal in Colorado, Washington, and Oregon. So more to talk about there. And we have a good show, so stay tuned as we join Sinclair Now in just a moment.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop. You save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Bad news, Americans. You're probably stockpiling for a disaster all wrong. When the big one comes, you'll need more than that poisonous, oversalted survival food you now see everywhere. There are 3 vital things that your survival food is missing, and it's the first thing to disappear from grocery stores. Go to superfoodradio.com now to see my story of how I nearly died when I was forced to live on a popular survival food. That's superfoodradio.com, and I'll show you how everything you've been told about survival food is dead wrong. Go to superfoodradio.com now.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com or 800-544-3533.
Think positive. Never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem.
Welcome back to the Wall Street Raw Radio Show with Mark Leibovit, your time machine for the financial markets. Want to know more? Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com. Now, here's the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Back, my good friend Sinclair No from KFNN 1510 Phoenix, and author of the blog EatTheBankers.com, and a chock-full week of news, Sinclair. Leading off this week, Saudi Arabia says it will sell up to $750 billion of treasuries if Congress passes a bill that will allow the kingdom to be held responsible for U.S. courts to pay for their role in 9/11. My question to you is, who's going to buy those bonds?
No. I don't think that they can do it, first of all. And the other thing is, are they actually going to let those 28 pages of the 9/11 report finally get published? And again, I think probably not.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my guess. Now, my other guess is what's in those 28 pages? A lot of culpable material, I would say.
Right. So we always were worrying about whether foreign governments, whether it was Japan, China, now out of the blue with Saudi Arabia, would start selling our treasuries, and what would that do to the interest rate market, obviously. So there's been always fear over the years. My guess, for what it's worth, is the Fed would just gobble it up and get it off the books.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, can we absorb $7 billion or so? Sure, we can absorb it. It's not quite as if it's Japan or China dumping. It's Saudi Arabia. Now, the other question is, what about Saudi Arabian oil? And there, the Saudis pretty much have to keep selling oil. They have to keep selling it into the world market. They don't have much choice because right now they're also going out and looking for a few $1 billion worth of financing to kind of keep their state budget afloat as prices have gone down. Could they play some games in the oil market, though, that could see oil prices spike a little bit higher? Yes. And so that's probably a little bit of why we saw Obama over in Saudi Arabia this past week, trying to soothe tensions, if you will. Although I don't know if he's found any friends over in Saudi Arabia. He wasn't greeted very warmly over there.
I know the first time he went a few years ago, he bowed down and kissed their hands and everything. So maybe they lost a little bit of that respect for him. In any event,
and this time they didn't even show up at the airport to greet him.
Oh, okay. That's a slap in the face. All right. So the Federal Reserve is set to hike interest rates more rapidly than investors expect, according to President Eric Rosengren from the Boston Fed. It's here it goes with the jawboning. One week there's dovish comments, then there's hawkish comments, and we know that Draghi held their rate at 0. So what's going on here, Sinclair, in your opinion?
I think that we're probably getting a little bit closer to inflation targets, particularly as we're seeing the price of oil and energy starting to move a little bit higher in the past couple of weeks. And this was despite all the Doha talks falling apart last weekend. You might have thought that would have pushed oil prices down. Exact opposite happened, though. So we're seeing higher oil prices. That's going to play into inflation. We're getting close to inflationary numbers on the core CPI, stripping out energy and food. You start adding, and the only reason we haven't seen inflation is because energy prices have been so low. That's kept inflation down. But if we start to see energy prices move higher, we're suddenly much closer to the inflation target. And I think there's a good chance that we're going to see a rate hike in June 1, and then I think that's probably it for the remainder of the year, unless inflation really gets out of hand.
Well, we have a meeting next Wednesday, so nothing next Wednesday then.
No, not next Wednesday. They haven't done enough to telegraph it, and I don't see that happening at next week's meeting, but June, yeah, good chance.
Well, the Fed may have a short memory, but the last time they did this, the stock market tanked. So are we due for an April or June sell-off if they decide to move? That's really the question.
It makes a lot of sense that you would see the market start to tank a little bit. That's typically what happens when the Fed tries to raise interest rates. The market does not like it. You start taking away a lot of that free money that's been used for stock buybacks, which has been a major way that companies have been able to prop up their earnings and prop up their share price. You start taking that away. You start taking away a lot of the money for M&A activity. And quite frankly, you got a problem in the stock market at that point.
Speaking about the stock market, we read this week, I don't know where I found this blog. I think it's called eatthebankers.com. It was a beautiful story about how over a poll of about 1,000 American adults, even with the Dow Industrials at near record highs, slightly more than half were in the market. What does that say?
Well, one, it says that there was a lot of damage in 2008. There was just a ton of damage. And people thought that for a while, I mean, coming out of the 90s and even into a few years, we got through 2001, 2002, and people were still investing in the market. Nah, people have given up. And also we're seeing a change in demographics. And I don't think the millennials are quite as happy with the stock market as the boomers were. And so really what you're seeing is middle-class Americans who are most likely to flee the market. If you've got a strong income, if you've got a strong net worth, you're still probably in the market. But middle class, they saw a lot of their wealth deteriorate in real estate. Now they're paying off debt. They've been doing that for quite some time, and they're just not investing. It's hurt a lot of middle-class dreams for retirement, and it's just not the deal that it used to be.
Yeah, with all the
everybody knows
rigging.
It's rigged. Yeah,
rigged. I was going to say, with all the market rigging going on, where the confidence level is very low, and then you had the Bernie Madoff scandal and all that. I mean, just why you want to be in the stock market with all that volatility, right?
I think that's what a lot of people are saying, and we're seeing it in the numbers. It's just slightly more than half, 52%, I think it is, and that's down from right at 3/4 that were involved in the market just a few years back.
Sinclair, we ran out of time for this segment. Do you have time for a second segment today?
Oh, sure. Love to. Great.
All right. We'll be back with Sinclair No in just a few moments. We're talking to Sinclair No, author of EatTheBankers.com and financial commentator, KFNN 1510 Phoenix. Yeah, Sinclair, and we'll be back with you just a moment. Just to reiterate some of the news out there, we got corporate borrowers across the world have defaulted over $50 billion in debt so far this year as the number of delinquent companies accelerate. So more bad news out there for those who think that everything is so rosy. Stay tuned, and we'll have Sinclair back on segment 2.
Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at WallStreetRaw.com. At WallStreetRaw.com, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth, help you avoid the next big market crash, and also stay healthy to enjoy your wealth. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of the Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to WallStreetRaw.com and sign up for his free weekly Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free Gold News Raw report. You will receive both weekly, and both are totally free. No credit card information is required. Sign up today for your free Vice News Raw and Gold News Raw reports at WallStreetRaw.com. That's WallStreetRaw.com.
It's no secret that pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, molds, and fungus can inflict severe damage in the human body. Fortunately, a new and vastly improved silver solution has been developed. Supernatural Silver is a revolutionary broad-spectrum antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal solution that can be used inside the body as well as on the skin. Supernatural Silver is unique and superior to colloidal and ionic silvers, using a patented technology that is highly effective against colds, flus, infections, food poisoning, and yeast, in addition to many other pathogens. Supernatural Silver is scientifically supported, extremely safe, and is the #1 choice of thousands of people for immune system support. Find out how Supernatural Silver could change your life. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code HEALTHY for 20% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com. And like us on Facebook.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's called the Transcend Mini CPAP, and right now you can try it risk-free for 10 days by calling 1-800-945-9289. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day at-home trial. 1-800-945-9289. That's 1-800-945-9289.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
Anything that is thy neighbor.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw. Want to know more about Wall Street Raw and the Leibovit VR newsletters? Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com.
Back Sinclair now for our Saturday morning interview, and thanks Sinclair for staying with us for a few more minutes today. We have so much to cover. Volkswagen reached a settlement this week in principle with the EPA after their scandal.
Yeah, about 500,000 Volkswagen car owners are going to get a chance. It looks like the details are still a little bit vague, but it looks like Volkswagen is offering to buy back the cars or provide compensation or some combination thereof, or do repairs. This is just on the 2-liter diesels that they were selling that were rigged to cheat the emissions test. They have some 3-liter diesels as well. We don't know what's going to happen there. But this is a pretty big deal. It's going to knock off somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 billion in cost for Volkswagen to do this. And they're going to work out details. We'll know more over the summer, and then there'll be a chance for public comment. But it was probably either that or Volkswagen, could have been facing criminal charges.
Well, as we've already learned that we've got, rigging on all levels, Sinclair, from the government down to the corporations. Of course, we suspect that the corporations were doing this forever anyway, and I think the public would more be accepted to that fact, but the government...
It's not just Volkswagen, by the way. We also had a report on Mitsubishi this week, playing games with their fuel economy standards so that they could get some tax breaks on certain cars. Mitsubishi now has a big problem. Then Friday, I think it was, Daimler announcing that they had some emissions problems as well. Exactly where that goes, we'll wait and see. But my guess is that a lot of these car companies have been playing a lot of games when it comes to emissions standards and fuel economy ratings and everything else. So, yeah, we know the bankers have been playing these games for a long time, rigging the markets, rigging everything from gold and silver to interest rates to you name it. The car companies have been doing it too.
Having a lot of fun at it, apparently, because they keep doing it. We also heard that Google is under fire from EU regulators. They abused the quote-unquote dominant position of the Android.
Yeah, this is over in Europe. The European Union regulators are going after Google now. Google was basically, and this is an old story that we've seen in tech, Microsoft used to do this with their browser. They would preload it onto PCs, and that gave them an unfair advantage. Microsoft has been through a lot of this in the past. Now we're seeing the switch from the PC over to mobile devices, smartphones and such. Google has been preloading Google Browser and Google Maps and Google everything else that they do, search and whatnot, onto the Android devices. And the EU says that gives Google an unfair advantage, and it probably does, because Google is the dominant player now, particularly over in Europe, where the Android devices are much bigger than they are even in the U.S. So what's going to happen there? Probably going to have to change the way they load the phones. But I think Google's still going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long time to come, even though they had a really weak earnings report this week. I think a lot of the reason for Google's weak earnings report is that they're one of those rather unique companies that are actually reinvesting in the company. They're trying to come up with something, and they're taking some long shots. They call them moon shots. Mm-hmm. They're doing some investments in some strange technology, some stuff we haven't really heard about yet. But if it starts to pay off, it'll pay off big for them.
Speaking of new technology, we had Walgreens in a little bit of trouble. Walgreens Boots Alliance with their Theranos product that came out. And that's supposed to have been revolutionary for blood testing. And I was really surprised that there's some trouble there.
Yeah, Walgreens is trying to figure out what to do with Theranos, and Elizabeth Holmes, she's the driving force behind Theranos, came up with some way to test blood with just a drop of blood, just a little pinprick, instead of pulling out a full vial of blood for testing. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be quick, easy, less expensive. The problem is it may not have been accurate, and that's a big problem when it comes to blood testing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but we'll see. It'll take time, but there are investigations underway now.
And finally, we probably should have touched on this in the first segment, but the Supreme Court ruled this week that Iran's central bank must pay over near $2 billion to victims of terrorist attacks. This is really, with what's going on with Saudi Arabia and what's going on with Iran and generally, this is amazing that they would even rule against Iran.
This was one of the stranger Supreme Court rulings that I've seen lately, because it dealt with a very specific law that was written very specifically to go after Iranian holdings, and they actually cited when they wrote the law, they cited the docket of the case that they were writing the law about, and the Supreme Court says, yeah, you can do that if you want to. It's a very strange way to just go in there and pick at something, but, who's more deserving of being picked at than the Iranians? We know that they were involved in some terrorist activities going going back to the 1983 Marine barracks bombings in Lebanon. So maybe it'll result in something. Of course, there's still going to be a lot of legal fights, and the Iranians are not going to just roll over, but they may not have a chance. Some of these funds were actually frozen years ago, and they're just kind of sitting there waiting for something to happen. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's a little bit of compensation for the families of the victims.
Well, when you're dealing with bad guys, it's ultimately this is going to come out. Well, that wraps it up for this week, Sinclair. We've got so many other stories out there, but I really appreciate you taking a few moments. We're talking to Sinclair.
Well, I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to heading into May because that's going to be a big changing time in the market, I think, at least according to your forecast model. So
well, we didn't talk about sell may go away yet, but you're right. I think we're at that point. Thank you, Sinclair, author of the EatTheBankers.com blog and financial commentator 1510 Phoenix, and we'll have you back next week, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.
I want to remind you to stay tuned here on my good friend Eric Haddock from the Inside Track newsletter coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Day of Infamy and similar cycles that have come into play here. Date of Aggression, I think, is the other phrase that Eric uses as well for this time frame. And as Sinclair just alluded to, you know, the financial press and Jim Cramer and the whole group out there laughs that the sell may go away, but there's a lot of times where it does work. I know it doesn't work 100%, but I think common sense says you got an election coming up, a lot of uncertainty over the summer, and we've got a lot of stories out there, folks. You know, we have the Fed potentially acting, the negative interest rates, what's going on with Saudi Arabia, the potential conflict in China, in the South China Sea, North Korea. I mean, you can just raise the list to unbelievable levels, and we know the Plunge Protection Team is out there rigging the market and trying to keep it up temporarily. Stay tuned for Eric on segment 4.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at WallStreetRaw.com. Here, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth, help you avoid the next big market tsunami, and also stay healthy to enjoy your wealth. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to WallStreetRaw.com and sign up for his free Vice News Raw report. You will receive it weekly, and it is totally free. No credit card information is required, and no one will call. Sign up today for your free Vice News Raw report at WallStreetRaw.com. That's WallStreetRaw.com for your free weekly report from Mark Leibovit and WallStreetRaw.com.
This is it. For the first time ever on this station, U.S. government gold offered at cost for only $139 each. With Wall Street suffering its worst start to a trading year in history, now is especially the time to be paying attention to gold. This first ever U.S. legal tender government gold offered at cost for only $139 each is from the U.S. Money Reserve. Call them at 1-866-944-GOLD. Gold is on the move, so don't miss out. For the first time ever on this station, U.S. government gold offered at cost for only $139 each. 1-866-944-GOLD or online at usmoneyreserve.com. Ask for a free 55-page gold buyer's book. Plus, get a free Walking Liberty $50 just for reading this must-have book. Get your free gold book, your free $50, but most importantly, get your gold at cost for only $139 per coin. 1-866-944-GOLD.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
My name is Don Wiskin, and at 42 years old, I suffered a massive heart attack and was told I'd be on disability for the rest of my life. What did I do? I created Extendivite, a garlic and cayenne mix of 7 herbs which rebuilt my heart and gave me back my life. For over 17 years now, I have made this formula available to you so you don't have to suffer the same thing I did. Clean your blocked arteries and strengthen your heart and boost your natural immune system. I'm 60 years old now, and I still work every day. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit heartdrop.com. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
There is no freedom without the law.
Get it? Got it? Good.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw and the final segment with Mark Leibovit. Now, here's the elf himself.
Welcome back, my good friend and special guest, Eric Haddock from the Inside Track newsletter. I don't know if we need to introduce Eric again, but he's been around since the 1980s, and he's been advising institutional clients and writing his Inside Track newsletter for, I think it was about almost 30 years now, starting in the 1990s. Terrific track record. He titles or subtitles his Inside Track letter, "Let Us Run with Patience the Race That Is Set Before Us," from Hebrews 12:1. We're about to enter the Passover holiday, and really honored to have him back on the show. Thank you, Eric, and appreciate your input.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Mark.
So much going on in the markets here. My first question to you is, and I've been writing about this a little bit, sell may go away. We've seen tops as early as the early part of April in previous years. Most of the financial commentators are poo-pooing the sell may go away theory. I know you do much more work than that. How does that fit with your analysis?
It certainly overlaps what I'm looking for. In particular, my work was showing that mid to late April should be an intermediate peak, and all along I've been looking for late June to be the next significant low. So putting in between that, the decline would have to take place late April to late June. That June time frame is actually the next phase of several pretty consistent cycles in the markets, as large as like a 5-month and a 10-month cycle, but it links a lot of the key lows that we've seen. So I do think that we're going to see a sell-off into then, but depending on the action leading into that low, that might be a time to start looking back at the market.
So how far down do you think we could go? Could we retest the lows that we saw back in February, perhaps?
Possible, and really that, in my work, that gets more determined by the first couple of weeks after a top. So I really am looking to haven't even gotten a solid sell signal yet. Once I get that, then look at what the first couple of weeks do, and that will help really hone in on what my targets for that particular decline are.
Yeah, we've seen some of the NASDAQ generals, some of the big names like Netflix and Facebook and Microsoft and others starting to hit south here. So there's some early warnings that some leaders might have already turned south. So we'll see if that signal does come in. I know you follow the precious metals and the gold market and the interest rate market. Gold had a nice run. Silver in particular has been really strong here relative to gold the last few days, but they all appear a little extended. Are you in that agreement or no?
Yes, and I had really been watching the time frame immediately surrounding April 19th, what I call the date of aggression. In fact, I'd put another report out in the beginning of April discussing that again, just the very uncanny and unique time frame surrounding that April 19th date. And this year, in where the metals were concerned, gold and silver, a lot of their cycles were turning positive in the early part of April, and then we started getting more and more focus on the possibility that China was going to initiate a yuan-based gold fix at the Shanghai Gold Exchange, and they had picked April 19th as that date. I was reading a lot of the hyperbole out there about, gold would go to the moon at that point, but what I was expecting was just a quick, sharp 2 to 3 day rally on top of that news because I had intermediate cycles peaking on April 21st and 22nd. And so gold and silver have shot up to there. What's interesting to me is that gold did not set new highs in that time frame. So we could see another consolidation phase in the coming weeks.
Right, and then multi-year move higher. But let me spend a moment with you on the date of aggression. That was fascinating in your newsletter. I know we have a couple more minutes here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I kind of started out by discussing the opening of the natural year, starting with the vernal equinox, March 19th, 20th, and basically the first month of that natural year culminates on April 19th, 20th, and that whole time frame has historical significance, much of it dealing with war, with battles, going back to ancient Rome and celebrations of the god of wars, Mars, which is where we get the name March from, flowing through to more recent times, although even in the Old Testament, when they discuss that specific time of year, it talks about when kings go off to war. And so it has been a very aggressive time all along, but the culmination of that 30-day period right around April 19th, 20th is where we've just seen so much aggressive behavior, particularly in America, and that is really when the first shot in the Revolutionary War was fired, April 19th, 1775. First shot in the Civil War, April 19th, 1861, and some metaphorical shots, too. First shot against gold standard, April 19th, 1933. First shot in the space race between Soviet Union and the U.S., April 19th, 1971. But even more recently, a lot of the major attacks and not just attacks, but even going back to like the Branch Davidian Waco debacle and Columbine and the Oklahoma City bombing, the Virginia Tech shooting, and then the Boston Marathon bombing, all within a couple days of that April 19th date.
Uncanny, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we got to watch our backs here for the next few weeks, Eric. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I actually there's specific years when I place more emphasis on that kind of physical attack type of thing, and I'm looking more at 2017 and around that April 19th date because of a lot of longer term cycles. So I'll be watching even more closely next year.
Well, we're going to be watching you for sure. We're talking to Eric Haddock from Inside Track Newsletter. Eric, how do our listeners get in touch with you?
They can go to either our websites, 40yearcycle.com, that's the number 40yearcycle.com, or our flagship website at Inside Track with the extra I in the middle, INSIIDETRACK.com.
Thank you so much, Eric. Have a great Passover, and we'll be back with you hopefully real soon.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you again, Eric, and thanks for Sinclair for joining us for 2 segments here as well. Speaking of upcoming dates, for those of you who like going to Las Vegas, I'm going to be at the Money Show May 9th through 12th. I have a workshop there, and we're hosting a booth as well. So that's at Caesars Palace. I've been on the road a little bit the last couple of months. You may recall that I was at the Traders Expo in New York in late February, and also the Money Show down in Orlando, Florida in early March. So we're going to be culminating this current cycle with the trip in May. So please come on by. It's free, believe it or not. There's no charge for that. And, it's always great talking to Eric and Sinclair about the problems out there. And, basically my basic view is not only sell may go away, but we may have even seen the first signs of a bear market. For those of you who are technically oriented, the moving average convergence divergence indicator, the MACD, for example, peaked well before the price in 2007. It's done that as well, and we saw it also in the 1999 peak. So even though the markets have held up here, the internal market has been acting very poorly. So, and also this past week we saw some of the generals, the big names, starting to break a little bit. So we're in a time frame you got to be careful. Gold and silver, though, may be your hedge, though they also need to pull back here a little bit. And also keep in mind that, the only place to be is not necessarily the stock market. There are other places to invest your money, physical real estate, gold, silver, other hard assets. And there were rumors last week that there were martial law discussions at the White House about a possible problem in the banking system. And there's been talk about devaluation and possibly negative interest rates coming here in the U.S. So something you got to be really careful about. As I always try to do here every week, remind you what Ed Hart used to say, my good friend at the Old Financial News Network, we will know in the fullness of time. Speak to you next week. Thank you for joining Wall Street Raw.
Thank you for listening to Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week Alpha, Mark Leibovit. If you missed any of today's show or to get in touch with Mark, please go to WallStreetRawRadio.com. Any stocks or investment discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. We first recommend you seek out a licensed financial professional for advice. Go to WallStreetRawRadio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at WallStreetRaw.com. At WallStreetRaw.com, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth, help you avoid the next big market crash, and also stay healthy to enjoy your wealth. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of the Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to WallStreetRaw.com and sign up for his free weekly Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free Gold News Raw report. You will receive both weekly, and both are totally free. No credit card information is required. Sign up today for your free Vice News Raw and Gold News Raw reports at WallStreetRaw.com. That's WallStreetRaw.com.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.